I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Let me handle my business, damn.
He went from selling CDs out of a car to owning pieces of the NFL, champagne empires, and streaming platforms. This isn't just a story about success, this is the blueprint. Jay-Z turned pain into poetry, and poetry into profit. But how did a kid from Brooklyn become a global symbol of power, strategy, and generational wealth? Stay tuned for the real playbook of how Jay-Z became a one-man business empire. Before the billion-dollar deals and boardroom meetings, there was a young man from Brooklyn named Shawn Carter. Shawn Corey Carter was born on December 4, 1969, in Brooklyn, New York. He was raised in the Marcy Projects, one of the toughest housing projects in the city. His father abandoned the family when Jay-Z was just 11, leaving his mother Gloria to raise 4 children on her own. Violence, drugs, and survival weren't just around him, they were the environment. He found escape in words, in rhythm, in rap. By the time he reached his teens, he was known around the neighborhood as Jazzy, eventually shortened to Jay-Z, partly in tribute to his mentor, Jazzo. But before he became a mogul, he was a hustler. Jay-Z has never glamorized that era, but he didn't hide it either. He sold crack cocaine, narrowly escaped police, and lost friends to street life. But he studied the game, the margins, the risk-reward ratios. And that mindset would shape every business decision he ever made. When record labels refused to sign him, Jay-Z didn't beg, he continued to work hard. In 1995, alongside Damon Dash and Kareem Biggs Burke, he co-founded Rockefeller Records. They funded everything themselves, music videos, marketing, even pressing CDs. He was already thinking like a startup founder. In 1996, they released Reasonable Doubt. It didn't go platinum overnight, but it planted the flag. Jay-Z's lyrics weren't just slick, they were layered, intelligent, filled with coded ambition. He wasn't rapping about money for clout, he was speaking it into existence. By the time his second and third albums dropped, In My Lifetime, Volume 1 and 2 and Hard Knock Life, Jay was no longer underground. He was charting, touring, stacking. But while other rappers were chasing major label deals, Jay-Z was already building independence. He owned his masters. He controlled distribution. He didn't just want a check, he wanted equity. That's when the world began to realize Jay-Z wasn't just trying to make it, he was engineering a dynasty. Think about that, most artists begs for a record deal. Not Jay-Z, he hustled on and made his own record label. If you respect that level of game, hit that like button and let's keep this knowledge flowing. By the early 2000s, Jay-Z was more than a rapper, he was a businessman who was navigating an industry that is designed to chew artists up and spit them out. But Jay-Z, he studied the system and then flipped it. In 2003, after dropping his retirement album, The Black Album, he made a move no one saw coming. He became the president and CEO of Def Jam Recordings. An artist from the projects took the reins of one of the most iconic labels in music history. And while at Def Jam, Jay-Z didn't just fill a chair, he made billion-dollar chess moves. He signed Rihanna as a teenager from Barbados. He greenlit Kanye West, pushing him from producer to rap icon. He championed Ne-Yo, Jeezy, and more. This wasn't just good taste, it was vision. Jay-Z saw potential before the world caught up. That's what moguls do. But Jay-Z also knew when to walk away. By 2007, he left Def Jam, frustrated by its corporate pace. He didn't want a seat at the table, he wanted to build his own. And that's exactly what he did. Jay-Z founded Roc Nation in 2008, and it wasn't just another record label. It was a full-service entertainment empire with music management, touring, publishing, branding, sports representation, and possibly more. From artists like J. Cole and Megan Thee Stallion, to athletes like Kevin Durant and Saquon Barkley, Roc Nation became a hub of Black excellence and cultural capital. Jay-Z wasn't just signing people, he was empowering them. And then came the streaming war. In 2015, Jay-Z acquired Tidal for $56 million, a music streaming platform built to give artists better payouts and ownership. At the time, people laughed. Why would anyone leave Spotify or Apple Music? But Jay had a long-term vision. He brought in 16 superstar co-owners, Beyoncé, Kanye, Rihanna, Nicki Minaj, Madonna, and more, giving them all equity. Tidal wasn't just music. It was movement. A fight for artists' rights in a digital economy where tech companies often exploit the creators. And when the time was right, Jay-Z flipped it. In 2021, he sold majority ownership of Tidal to Jack Dorsey's Square Inc., now called Block Inc., for $297 million, while keeping a stake and a seat on the board. He turned a $56 million investment into a near $300 million exit. And he still had influence over the future of fintech, streaming, and artist empowerment. This is why Jay-Z's not just a name, he's a strategy. If this kind of business mastery inspires you, hit that subscribe button and comment below. Which Jay-Z business move do you think was the boldest? By the time Jay-Z walked away from Tidal with nearly $300 million in hand, it was clear he had no interest in being boxed in by one industry. His moves were never about music alone, they were about identity, image, and ownership. His next chapter was soaked in luxury. It started in the shadows of champagne flutes and velvet ropes, places where black men were rarely at the top of the food chain. Jay-Z had grown tired of merely rapping about opulence. He wanted to own it. In 2006, he stopped drinking Crystal. The brand's managing director had made a thinly veiled racist remark, questioning the association between hip-hop culture and his champagne. Jay-Z didn't argue. He didn't tweet. He just cut ties. And then, he did what he always does, he built his own lane. Quietly, Jay-Z acquired a 50% stake in a little-known champagne called Armand de Brignac, the one with the metallic gold bottle and the Ace of Spades insignia. At the time, few knew the name, but Jay knew the power of storytelling, and more importantly, he understood symbolism. Ace of Spades didn't just appear in music videos, it took center stage. It wasn't just a drink, it was a declaration. A black man from Marcy Projects now held equity in a world-class champagne brand, and he made sure you knew it. Bottles popped at award shows. They poured in music videos. And every time one hit the table, it was more than a flex. It was a brand being built, from the ground up, in front of the world. Years later, when LVMH came calling, the same luxury conglomerate behind Moet, Jay-Z didn't sell out. He partnered. They bought 50% of the brand in 2021, valuing it at over $600 million. And Jay-Z? He stayed on as the face, the architect, and the story. But he wasn't done. Not long after, he turned to cognac. In partnership with Bacardi, he helped build Douce, a bold, sleek new entrant into the spirits world. It wasn't just a celebrity endorsement, it was business. He shaped the look, the taste, and the rollout. He took a spirit most associated with old money and flipped it into a symbol of black wealth, nightlife, and swagger. Years into their deal, as Douce's value soared, Bacardi tried to play it quiet, to buy Jay-Z out at a number that didn't reflect its worth. Jay-Z didn't let it slide. Jay-Z filed a lawsuit, demanding transparency, demanding a valuation that reflected its true scale. He wasn't just protecting his bag, he was protecting the principle. Eventually, they settled, and Jay walked away with close to $750 million in total value between his exits and retained stake. It wasn't luck. It wasn't timing. It was leverage, the kind built through years of strategic ownership and cultural capital. Jay-Z didn't ask to sit at the luxury table. He redesigned it. And when he popped bottles, it wasn't just to celebrate, it was to advertise something he owned. If you're starting to see just how deep Jay-Z's empire goes, drop a comment. Which of his brand flips impressed you most so far? And if you're loving this story, don't forget to like this video, it helps more people find stories like these. By the time Jay-Z was moving bottles of champagne like records, he was already shifting his focus again, this time, from culture to capital. Jay-Z's next move took him courtside. In 2003, long before it became fashionable for celebrities to buy sports teams, Jay-Z purchased a small ownership stake in the New Jersey Nets, a move that surprised some, but not those who were paying attention. This wasn't about basketball, this was about Brooklyn. At the time, the Nets were based in Jersey, playing second fiddle to the Knicks. But Jay had a vision. He helped spearhead the team's relocation to Brooklyn, right in the borough where he grew up. It wasn't just a real estate play, it was personal. The Barclays Center, gleaming in the middle of Brooklyn, wasn't just a stadium, it was a monument. Jay-Z eventually sold his shares in 2013, but not before the value of the franchise more than doubled. He walked away with a profit and something more valuable: experience. Shortly after, he launched Roc Nation Sports, a full-fledged sports agency that would challenge the establishment. This wasn't just another celebrity side project. Roc Nation Sports signed major athletes across multiple leagues: Kevin Durant, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Saquon Barkley. This time, Jay-Z wasn't just on the sidelines, he was calling the plays behind the scenes. He brought swagger and structure to sports management. His agency didn't just negotiate contracts, it shaped narratives, built brands, and protected futures. And that mindset spilled into other areas, like art. Jay-Z's personal art collection is worth over $70 million. But it's not just about Basquiat or Warhol or Damien Hirst. It's about ownership of story. Jay-Z has quietly built a portfolio of tech investments that reads like a Silicon Valley highlight reel. Uber, Robinhood, Eat This, Sweet Green. His venture firm, Marcy Venture Partners, is named after the housing project he grew up in, but it plays on a billion-dollar stage. He doesn't wait for opportunities to become mainstream. He finds them when they're still underground, still fragile, still doubted. That's the key. Jay-Z doesn't invest in what's hot, he invests in what's next. He saw Uber's potential before it changed cities. He saw Tidal's power before artists were demanding fairer pay. He backed Black founders and women-led companies before the press caught on. Jay-Z isn't just stacking wealth, he's building an ecosystem. An orbit where art, sport, tech, and culture collide, and one where he controls the gravity. If you're still with us, drop legacy moves in the comments to let us know you're riding this wave. And make sure you're subscribed, we're only getting deeper from here. By the late 2010s, Jay-Z had done the unthinkable. He had conquered music, luxury, tech, art, sports, and did it all without losing his footing in culture. But there was still one institution he hadn't touched: the National Football League. In 2019, when headlines broke that Jay-Z was partnering with the NFL, the reaction was complicated. This was the same NFL that blackballed Colin Kaepernick, the same league that for years avoided hard conversations around race, equity, and justice. So why would Jay-Z, a vocal supporter of social movements, align himself with them? People questioned his motives, accused him of selling out, turning protest into partnership. But Jay-Z didn't flinch. He basically said, "We've moved past kneeling. Now it's time for action." What many didn't see at the time was the long game. Jay-Z wasn't trying to silence activism. He was trying to convert it into actual access, power, platforms, and performance. His deal gave Roc Nation control over the NFL's entertainment strategy, including the crown jewel, the Super Bowl halftime show. And just like that, the most watched music event in the world was no longer a corporate afterthought, it became a cultural moment. Under Jay-Z's creative leadership, Shakira and Jennifer Lopez turned Miami into a dance floor. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, Mary J. Blige, 50 Cent, and Eminem brought hip-hop to center stage. And Rihanna, while pregnant, performed an all-Fenty showcase that broke the internet and tripled her product searches. Jay-Z wasn't just placing Black artists on that stage, he was shaping the narrative, controlling the optics, rewriting what the NFL looked like. This wasn't about football. This was about infrastructure. Jay-Z took one of the most conservative institutions in America and bent it toward culture, influence, and justice, all without raising his voice. He understood something most critics didn't. You can fight a system from the outside, or you can infiltrate it and redirect it from within. He wasn't just trying to make noise anymore, he was trying to make policy. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Roc Nation continued to expand into branding, marketing, activism, and philanthropy, launching initiatives like Team Roc, which supports criminal justice reform and fights systemic injustice. This wasn't about endorsements. This was about enforcement of values of representation and of equity. Jay-Z wasn't chasing corporate dollars. He was chasing leverage. And now, the same kid who couldn't get a record deal was now writing Super Bowl scripts and advising billion-dollar institutions. If this part of the story changed your perspective on how power moves really work, let us know in the comments and hit that like button. There's one final chapter left, and it might be the most important, so stay tuned. By now, you know the blueprint. Shawn Carter didn't just escape the streets, he rewrote the language of wealth. He didn't just chase fame, he engineered a legacy. But what separates Jay-Z from other rich celebrities? What makes his rise not just impressive, but instructive? It's all about the mindset. Jay-Z never plays checkers. He plays chess, in silence. While other artists were counting first-week sales, Jay was negotiating back-end deals. While others chased flashy brand endorsements, he chased equity. And while others stayed in one lane, music, Jay-Z built highways across industries. The real flex wasn't the champagne, or the Super Bowl, or the Forbes cover. It was ownership. Quiet, calculated, generational ownership. Every move wasn't just strategic, it was prophetic. And yet, for all the mogul talk, Jay-Z remains intensely grounded. His family, his privacy, his philanthropy, and his silence are part of his strategy. No reality shows, no constant social media updates, just results. He shows us that you don't have to scream to be heard when your work echoes through generations. Look at what he's built. Roc Nation isn't just a label, it's an entertainment empire with influence in sports, music, fashion, and politics. Marcy Venture Partners isn't just a VC firm, it's funding the future. His art isn't just decor, it's legacy. His philanthropy isn't performative, it's powerful. Even Beyoncé, his partner in empire, mirrors that same energy, cultural mastery fused with global business. Together, they aren't just the most influential couple in entertainment, they're one of the most strategic dynasties in American history. Jay-Z's story proves that success isn't just about stacking money, it's about multiplying value and knowing when to bet on yourself. From a young hustler selling CDs out of a trunk, to a boardroom tactician with global reach. He didn't just beat the system, he bought it.
I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Let me handle my business, damn.
If this deep dive inspired you, drop a comment with your favorite Jay-Z lyrics. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Catch up on more celebrity business in the next video.